joining him in the 2019 season. Some hints might have been leaked yesterday with this picture surfacing of Kawhi, KD practicing with the Kang in Los Angeles.
Jenna.
What?
This is disrespectful right now.
I'm sorry, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, and Cedi Osman.
Okay, there we go. Don't leave out Jetty. I don't know how Jetty got there. Jetty's still on a group text
right
he didn't know about, but he showed up.
For once.
You were right there with
and I put it down.
Absolutely. Look at my man Jetty. That's the future big three in L.A. LeBron, Kawhi, and Jetty.
I still think KD, there might be a chance he might try to...
Well,
the LA is hot now.
As long as he's not coming off the bench, because that's Jetty.
Okay, guys, who's everyone else in the picture?
So there's different coaches. The guy on the far right is Castleberry, the guy the Raptors just signed.
Kawhi's friend.
Kawhi's friend and the coach from San Antonio. But can we focus on something else?
Yeah, the guy next to him was the former coach in Cleveland. He was assistant coach for the
Hold on. Can we focus on Kawhi Leonard's hands? Because that's a regulation basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just enveloping him.
Oh.
His hands are... I mean, he has freakish hands. It's one of the reasons he's such a great defender. But that's crazy, man. That looks like it's either a high school ball or a women's ball. No, that's an NBA regulation ball, totally eclipsed by Kawhi's hands.
That had to be an awesome day at the gym.
And you know where that was, Jenna?
In Los Angeles.
The UCLA that we tell you about.
All the time.
Guys just show up. Man, Jetty. My man Jetty.
Stresses me out when you ask me questions.
But you got them both right, Jenna.
Miracle.
You're locked in this week.
Miracle. Listening. Time for stories to start your morning. This is brought to you by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil. The Browns appear to be happy with the progress of Josh Gordon. Hugh Jackson said Gordon, who returned to the facility this past weekend, will practice very soon. All right, CC, how much does the team need Josh Gordon?
Well, I believe the Browns are going to surprise. They're going to probably be the surprise of the NFL. I don't like to think that you would need a player. We did this early, and I was like, the Browns don't need him. When you have won one game in 2 years, you need as many good players as possible.
And they could definitely use
Okay, like, I'm sure that when he came in the locker room, the guys were very, very excited. In a locker room like this, you have so many guys that are really pulling for you compared to outside the locker room. So I know it was a lift to his teammates seeing him back with the organization.
And I'm rooting for Josh. I'm glad he's back. I do think it's important for people to temper expectations a bit. The last time Josh Gordon was unbelievable was 2013. You know who was arguably the best receiver in football that year? Des Bryant. Des Bryant hasn't missed the better part of the NFL calendar since then, and he right now is a shell of the player he was then. Josh has missed multiple years, so I don't know if it's fair to say he's going to be that guy again.
No one knows how good he can be now.
Right.
All right, moving on. Adrian Peterson signed with Washington this week. He had some interesting comments for his naysayers. Peterson said his doubters, quote, don't really know about football. Nick, what do you think about that?
Listen, this is exactly how he's supposed to feel. You don't become Adrian Peterson without always believing. You will always prove your doubters wrong. And at every step of his career, he's done just that. 1,800 yards or set the NFL all-time single game rushing total in his rookie season. Blew his ACL. Then he rushed for 2,000 yards 6 months later. Was suspended for a year. Then he rushed for 1,500 yards. He's always proven people wrong. But eventually the doubters become right. I think this is the year for that.
Yeah, I can understand Adrian trying to defend it. I'm glad to see him wearing number 26 because it takes me back to a guy that played and his career was cut short because he got murdered, Sean Taylor. Man, that's nice to see. So Adrian Peterson, if we're going to see a younger Adrian Peterson, we're not. All right? Like it's a wrap. All right? He's playing out the string. Adrian is just... He is not the Hall of Fame running back. Neither was Emmitt Smith, nor other great running backs at the end of their career. That is a reality.
It's rare you have the Jim Brown, Barry, Sanders go out with a lot left. That almost never happens.
Jim took that to the movies.
Yes.
Barry took that to the house.
We will end with some college football. Jim Harbaugh announced Shea Patterson will be Michigan's starting quarterback for the season opener against Notre Dame. The Ole Miss transfer beat out returning starter Brandon Peters. All right, Chris Carter, how much pressure is on Harbaugh now entering year 4 at Michigan?
Well, they are a basketball school right now.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, Jim's got to get it together. I mean, at how many years are we going to give him? In college, we have seen the best coaches turn around their programs in less than 2 years. Now, with the personnel that he has at Michigan, they have the defense, right? They've been nationally ranked the last several years defensively. Their offense has been awful. Their quarterbacks have been even worse. So if we're going to give Harbaugh credit, you need to give him blame for the inability to be able to have a competent college offense, which should be a lot easier than his previous job.
All right, so here's where I think Harbaugh, up until last season, had done exactly what you said the best coaches do. Turn programs around within 2 years. He took over a 5-7 Michigan team. His first year, they go 10-3. They have a brutal loss to Michigan State where the game is won, and they have a snap.
Was the game over?
Okay, the game is essentially won. They lose in brutal fashion. If you remember, that's the game where the punter can't hold on. The ball goes over his head. Michigan State ends up returning it for a touchdown. So that's why they're 10-3 instead of 11-2. The following year, they're 10-3 again. Their losses: a 1-point loss to Iowa, a 1-point loss in the bowl game to Florida State, and your Buckeyes got a little lucky with a 4th down situation.
It's amazing. We're talking about football every day, but now we're talking about luck with Michigan.
Okay, well, I was actually talking about luck with the Buckeyes.
But yeah, on the bad side.
But my point is, if you say, okay, his second year, they win 10 games again, and their losses are 2 1-point losses and a loss where there's a very controversial spot at the end of a football game against your rival, that if that doesn't happen, you are not only going to a better bowl in the Orange Bowl, but you're in the national championship discussion. And then last year was a disaster. You can't be 8-5 and lose the Outback Bowl and have it be year 3 and not have your quarterback. My point is this: up until last year, he was checking every box.
No, he wasn't. Because he hasn't beat his rivals. He's 1-5 against Michigan against Michigan State and Ohio State. So he wasn't checking those boxes. When you go to these big schools, do they want you to win championships? Do they want you to have guys get drafted? Do they want you to play on national TV? Yes. But they want you to beat your rivals. That is one of the things that you must do in all these big jobs.
Agreed, but I guess that's why I was bringing up how those games were lost. Because, listen, last year they were just outclassed by both those teams. I get that. But year 1, he has Michigan State beat, and it doesn't happen. Year 2, they do beat Michigan State, and he's right there with Ohio State. I think while the 1-5 is accurate, I think that's very easily 3-3, and then we're not having this discussion. But again, that's why this year's so important, because he does have the quarterback. Shea Patterson was number 3 player in all of high school football when he went to Ole Miss. He transferred, he didn't have to sit out a year. Like, he finally has his quarterback.
Yeah, so this year we'll blame it more on the kids compared to blaming on the coach. When you're getting paid the kind of money Harbaugh, you shouldn't be talking about, well, the guy snapped it over his head. Those kids are on scholarship, just like all the other kids in college football, if they're on scholarship. So Harbaugh has been a lot of hype, all right? He's brought around, he changed their merchandising deal, changed their deal with Adidas, now their brand Jordan. He's taken them around the country to play. But is this Michigan football the way we expected? No, not from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, they've been suffocating. They have held this program together. Jim Harbaugh and that offense are his lack of being able to coach up a quarterback, because he's gotten a bunch of quarterbacks, a bunch of transfers, a bunch of veteran quarterbacks that he could not get them to play winning football. So I'm sorry that they've had all this bad luck there in Michigan.
My question, can they win 10 games and beat Ohio State?
Well, it's a tough schedule for them this year.
No, I threw it out.
It's tough.
Threw it out. Question went bye-bye.
Oh, okay.
Because I know his answer.
Well, what about my answer, Jenna Wolf?
Can they win 10 games and beat Ohio State?
They can do one. They can't do the other.
Oh.
I said winning at Ohio State, that's tough.
I'm going to need that card back. It's got some questions. Moving on to Drew Brees. Is it too far-fetched to talk Super Bowls? Not at all, according to some. Sure, Brees is entering his 18th season, and sure, the Saints will be without Mark Ingram for the first 4 games. But with Brees, they're always primed for another deep playoff run. And get this, his former teammate Reggie Bush says Brees will retire after this season if the Saints win it all, meaning they win the Super Bowl. That's probably it for Drew Brees. All right, CC, what's the key for the Saints to be in the Super Bowl mix this year?
Yeah, I think Reggie Bush just got a television job. I think he's officially announced his retirement, and he's in TV. So a lot of times to be able to, I wonder why Reggie Bush said that. That's the reason why, because he's doing some TV now. I don't think that Drew has thought it out that far. If you look at where the Saints are, their ownership, their great owner, he passed away. The wife has taken over the team. Financially, how much is she going to commit to the Saints long term? They haven't been willing to commit to Drew Brees. That's why he has a one-year deal now. Drew has not given any indication. He takes care of himself. He doesn't necessarily do the things Tom Brady has done, but Drew Brees is in as good a shape as any quarterback that we have in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if he played another 2 or 3 years. He has a system that's friendly to him because he can do anything he wants. But now they have a running game. So it's even better for Drew Brees late in his career. They don't need him to throw the ball 40 times like they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And they are one play away from being in the NFC Championship. So having Super Bowl expectations for New Orleans, that's not too surprising for me because they've really done well is adding some explosive players. That mean rushing the passer, playing defense to go with their outstanding offense. We know about Alvin Kamara, what he's doing. How do they recover from the 4-game loss of Mark Ingram? They're going to have to replace that productivity, but the Saints, I think, will be one of the best teams in the NFC come the end of December.
I don't think Drew's going to walk away if they win the Super Bowl, but I do think one more Super Bowl is the only thing separating Brees from being in the discussion of, man, after Tom Brady, who are the greatest quarterbacks we've ever had? By Halloween, he's going to be the NFL's all-time leading passer. By game 5 or 6 of this year, he will have thrown for more passing yards than anyone in NFL history. By around the same time of this year, he will have the second most touchdown passes of anyone in NFL history. If he plays 2 more years, he will be first on both of those lists.
So
Brady,
what's keeping him out of that conversation?
He only has the 1 ring. Like, to be in that GOAT discussion for that position, it's multiple rings. Like, it's when Marino had all the numbers, he had 0 rings. Favre had unbelievable numbers, only had the 1 ring. Like, Peyton had the unbelievable numbers. Yeah. That last ring he won in Denver, that was a defensive-dominated team, but the ring shines the same. And so